Hi everybody, so I'm making this video because I thought I'd go ahead and help out some new moms, especially the ones that are expecting or ones that are planning on, transferring their babies from their room or bassinet to their own nursery and crib. And just so you guys can have an idea of what I'm going through, just so that, you guys don't go through the same problem that I'm dealing with right now. So by the topic of this video, you know that I'm going to be talking about co-sleeping. And I have nothing against co-sleeping at all. I did it with my daughter when she was a newborn, and I thought it was so much easier to just grab her from the little co-sleeper that I had that you put in the middle of your bed so your baby's not actually on your sheets. And I would just grab her, put her on the boob, and then put her back in there. And then once she was a few weeks old, I did have her in her bassinet until she was 3 months, and then switched over to her own room and to her crib. Transitioning her to her crib was basically a piece of cake. What I did, and I actually have another video about this that I made, and it's called Transitioning Baby to Crib. And I have that already, so I'm not going to go ahead and go into too much details, but basically I started her off on naps in her room, and I had her playing in her room a lot so she could get familiar with it, so she's not worried when she's left in there. After naps were, on point and she was there all the time for nap time, I started doing it at night, and it was so easy that by 3 months she was sleeping in her nursery with no problem at all. Okay, fast forward, she's 1 year old, and we decided that we were going to move to a whole different state. So my parents-in-law offered for us to stay with them for a few months until we got on our feet, and then we could go ahead and find our own home, which is what happened. But unfortunately, some things with Bella's schedule kind of got thrown off. For example, Bella didn't have her own room, so she was sleeping with us, and we didn't have a crib because we didn't bring one with us. We literally did not bring anything. Just our stuff like clothing and her stroller, stuff like that, but we didn't bring any furniture whatsoever. So the plan was to buy a crib or to buy a toddler bed. So meanwhile that was happening, and we were deciding, we had her sleeping in the bed with us. And that was one of the biggest mistakes that we could have ever done. It got to the point that she only wanted to sleep with us. We ended up buying her a toddler bed, which we knew that she could get out of the bed if she wanted to. She could go on top of the bed if she wanted to. She has no problem with that whatsoever. But unfortunately, every time we would put her down to sleep in her own bed, she would wake up in the middle of the night, or when she actually woke up or moved around and noticed that she wasn't in her bed, she would just be screaming. And she would not go to sleep until we put her in our bed. And till this day, I'm still having trouble putting her in her bed. And it's really hard. I know that some moms are probably thinking like I'm over-exaggerating, but it really is hard to get her back to her other schedule. Because when we were back home, what happened was at 8 o'clock, I made sure that she was bathed. I read her story, put her pajamas on, and she had her bottle, and she was ready to go to bed. And she would go to bed from 8 p.m. up until 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. So she had a perfect schedule. When we moved, we are 1 hour ahead from everybody else, well, from back home, and her schedule just got messed up. She was going to sleep whenever she felt like it. She was going to sleep whenever we were going to go to sleep. So things got a little hectic and a little different. So fast forward, now she has her own room. She has her own bed, and I still cannot get her to sleep in her room. Sometimes I put her in her bed, I put her to sleep, and then slowly transfer her over to her bed. But in about 2 hours after falling asleep, she'll wake up crying, and even if I stay with her in the room, she will not go back to sleep. And if she even senses that I left, it's like she starts crying and she starts screaming, and it's like she just hates it. So I just want to go ahead and let anybody else know that if your baby, is already in their room and they have a good routine established and they sleep in their bed just fine, don't make the same mistake I made, not even for a day. Like, God forbid the baby doesn't feel well or something like that. Okay, I understand. You want to comfort them, but just don't get them used to sleeping in your bed, because next thing you know, you're going to be dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with, and I have no privacy whatsoever with my fiance. Like, she's in the middle of us all the time. And he comes home from work at 7 o'clock in the morning. The bed is limited space because she sleeps like this, or she sleeps like this. She sleeps all over the place, and there's times where one of us have to come to the living room because, we have no space in the bed because we don't want to wake her up. We don't want to bother her. But then again, we are adults and we have to do what we have to do in order, to sleep in our own bed. So here I am, desperate, needing help. I'm reaching out because, like I say, when I make videos, it's not just to help people, but it's because I'm seeking help myself. So if you guys have any tips, any, suggestions on what I can do to get her to sleep in her own room again, in her own bed, I would gladly appreciate that. I even tried putting her toddler bed in my room and kind of get her used to sleeping in her own room next to us, in her own bed next to us, but that doesn't even work. She'll wake up and know that she's not in her bed, and it's just, I'm running out of ideas. I seriously need help figuring out what to do. So if anybody could go ahead and let me know, that would be great. I really appreciate it. You have no idea. And like I said, this video is not to go against co-sleeping, because like I said in the beginning, it's the most perfect thing to do, and I'm going to be co-sleeping again when this baby is born. But I'm just talking about, when the baby has reached the age where should be sleeping in their own nursery. And, I'm not going to lie, it's nice to know that they're in their own room and you can kind of have your own privacy where you can just do whatever you want and not have to worry about waking up a baby or something like that, or whatever the case may be. So once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys understand. Like I said, I'm not trying to go against co-sleeping, and if you guys have any tips or anything like that for me, please let me know. I'm desperate, seriously. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.